So about a year ago, I needed to invest into some more printers to replace some old aging, or actually not aging, aged printers like this network printer here from Dell, who's been a workhorse, but its time has come. It's getting a little bit more finicky and whatever over the time. So I went out and bought some networked Samsung printers. The nice thing about the Samsung printers is they're lighter, smaller, more compact. They seem to have the similar features as the Dell that it has been so venerable over the years. But so I bought 3 of these, and as my office has expanded, we've been putting them into operation. So this one's been in operation a little over a year. That one as well, a little over a year. There's one in another office that's been in operation over a year, just under a year actually. And then so we had our last one. We bought 3 of the black and white network printers. It is Xpress M2070FW there by Samsung. And one thing we did learn about this printer over the year is that it's got a hard count on the copies. So once you get to a predetermined amount of prints, it requires that you replace a toner cartridge, whether you need to or not, whether the toner cartridge is functioning well or not. It will not let you use all of the material and maximize the life of a toner cartridge. We've gone back to the days where Samsung now is not making money on the printers, but they're making a ton of money on the toner cartridges. So the particular toner cartridge for this runs about $60 to $70, depending on where you buy it. And they've written hard into their firmware that it detects only Samsung manufactured toner cartridges. So you can't buy an off-brand and save money. You have to use their brand, which of course makes them more money. And like I said, it does a hard stop at a particular toner count. I mean, exactly at that number. So if you print out 1,000 pages with 1 dot on it, when you get to 1,001, it tells you have to replace that toner cartridge. Or I'm printing out 1,000 pages with massive picture on it, and it actually does use the materials in the toner cartridge. It doesn't matter. So it's a little gamesmanship. Had I known that Samsung was doing that, I would never buy their product. And it turns out Samsung now is either being bought by, manufactured by, supported by Hewlett-Packard, which means now Hewlett-Packard is doing the same thing. And boy, how far has Hewlett-Packard fallen since they bought Compaq some years ago. It's really disappointing. So anyway, so at the time we bought 3 of these black and white networked scanner printers, copiers, and I bought 1 for color presentations and that kind of stuff. Again, I haven't had any problems with either one, just some finickiness about connecting to networks wirelessly. The instructions are poorly written. The interface is not intuitive. It's poorly well designed, but they make up for it by making you buy all their materials from them that is manufactured by Samsung at full retail, whether you need to or not. So and so we're unpacking the 3rd one, which is over here, and we noticed something as soon as we got it going. We've kind of put it back in its box because we were trying to get some customer service help on it. But I'll kind of show you what we've run through here in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to, as you see here, I mean, we haven't done anything. We haven't even opened up any of the power cords or anything. That's still in its original factory packaging. Instruction manual still on the thing, top. This is pretty much worthless now. So we'll get the top out of there. And as you see, I mean, it's still in the box. We'll pull it out of the box here in just a second. Okay, so we got it out of the box. We got all the styrofoam crap off of it, out of it, whatever. It's set it ready to go. Now, the other two, we did not have this problem with the other two, but we have shown that we've got a problem with this one. So this one has got absolutely 0 count on it. No scans, no printing, no copying, nothing. It's never even had the initial toner that was brought with it installed. Okay, so we're going to do the normal setup here, and we'll plug it in, and I'll show you what the error messages we're getting right out of the box. Okay, so we've got it plugged in, and or getting ready to get it plugged in. We got it plugged into the USB and all that to do the normal programming you do when you set it up for a network. And so let me show you the initial error message we get right out of the box. So we'll go ahead and let me plug this in real quick. Okay, so here we go. Watch the screen. Initializing, and the first thing it says is wait image. And I've tried to reset this. There are no instructions on how to get beyond this. So I did a little bit of internet research, and wait image means that this printer right out of the box is waiting for a firmware update. Right out of the box, straight from the store. Waiting on a firmware update. Okay, and what I've found out is that the new firmware update that they want to force everyone to install right away is a change in the firmware that will restrict the ability to do a workaround on the chip setting for the toner cartridges. So that way people can't do a workaround and use off-branded toner. They have to, by law, according to the firmware, use Samsung manufactured cartridges only. Okay, so basically this is a big plastic brick until I get the firmware updated. And so, okay, so I have to reluctantly download the firmware now and install it, but there's not the end of the saga. I'll show you in just a second. Okay, so from the website, I have downloaded the updated firmware, and so it's connected via USB cable and to the computer, and I'm going to try to attempt to flash the firmware upgrade. Watch the screen. Okay, so automatically it gets me in this error if this has been downloaded. It says image error reset printer. And so assuming that I have a faulty or corrupt firmware update, I went to the website again, made sure I got the most up-to-date one, and re-downloaded it and did it again. I've done this 2 or 3 times. I've done it with different versions of the same firmware. And all without any success. So I called, and I'll show you what it looks like on the computer side here in just a second. So on the firmware side and the computer side, the installation, it's pretty easy. It's a drag and drop. You take the file here, you drag it to an installer file here, up pops a DOS window, and it executes. Whoops. Well, see, it's already executed it, so let me reset it. Okay, so because I had just already executed this a second ago, the printer was in that image error thing to reset, and so it needed to be unplugged, and then replug back in, and immediately it defaults to that, hey, we're waiting on a firmware update. So we'll go ahead. This is I'm trying to install the 4th version of the same file. And so we'll go here. You see, and so it actually does the installation. It sends it to the printer, and then the printer gives me this image here. I've tried the previous version of the firmware. I've tried 2 versions of the same file previously. There's no update that will satisfy this request. And so then I called HP, and HP did not want to know really anything about the printer. It didn't ask the firmware it didn't ask about the firmware file that I updated. First, and the other thing, I'm talking to somebody in the Philippines or somebody in India who has absolutely no understanding of what I'm talking about. I've tried to explain it. He put me on hold and would research it and came back. And he told me that my best course of action was to take it to Best Buy. Let me pause a second. Okay, so he told me to take it to Best Buy and have their Geek Squad look at it. And I asked them, what would the Geek Squad do that I could not? And he said, well, they would connect via Wi-Fi and connect and do the firmware update that way. And I told him that I have Wi-Fi here, and we don't even get to a Wi-Fi screen to where we can connect it to the Wi-Fi. So, not to mention that in any literature that I've ever read regarding firmware updates, it's always a hardwire update that is recommended to keep there from being errors in the firmware. And there would be no other way to get the firmware to this particular system because of that immediately defaults to the error screens, and there's no way to get out of the error. You can't. The only way to get this is to unplug the unit and restart it, and as soon as it starts, it defaults to the update the firmware screen. So he didn't really know what he's talking about, which isn't surprising. I wasn't like, wow, that really shocks me. I was actually anticipating that. Why HP has taken over the customer support for Samsung, I don't know. Why they don't know what they're doing, I don't know. But I will tell you, I will not be investing in any more Samsung products, nor will I have my clients invest in Samsung products, because this is completely unacceptable. So that's it. That's all I got. If anybody's got a suggestion, let me know.